Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. So in this video we're going to be setting up aspects of the form components within the checkout page. So we're going to start out by creating an checkout form, or we would at least, I think, just start out with naming it a checkout form. So this form is basically going to contain part or all of our details inside, which we're going to be using to validate on. We're going to be setting up the validation in the next episode. So what we can do with Livewire 3 is we can essentially create the validate attribute using the hashtag. And in there we can basically specify the requirements like you would beforehand, but it looks a bit neat and tidier by having it inside its own form component rather than having it inside the Livewire component. So that will make our component look a bit more clean and tidy, at the same time having a purpose as to validate those fields. So I'm gonna call this customer details for now, and I'm gonna create a bit more in here. I want to essentially have an address details as well. And let's start by creating some of the relevant things here for the address. So as you can see, we want to rename these. So I think we're going to have an address line 1 and 2. And both of these are going to be type text. All of them are going to be required. And we'll just call this address line 2. And then we want to make sure we also have the correct names for the labels. So I'm going to call one of them, I'm just going to call email, and then I'm going to call it address line 1 and 2, which is perfect there. You can call them whatever you want, specify what details you want from the customer. And outside of that, we also need 2 fields side by side. We're going to add some topping here of, I think 3 looks better here. So let's just make sure we have that added in like that. And I think we should also add that to all of the other ones here, just to make sure it looks a bit nice. And as you can see, we've gotten some more spacing here. Let's make sure we add it up here as well. And let's call this city. And lowercase actually would be better for this purpose. And then city inside the placeholder. The label should be city. And this should be postcode / zip code, depending on which country you're in. You may have a different purpose for this. So let's just call this postcode in the field at least. And with that sorted, we now have a form field here. So we also want to make sure that we add some extra spacing here, just to make it look a tiny bit better, like that. Again, you may want to have small spacing or different forms, so I'm not going to put too much emphasis into the design for this part of the course. And let's just rename this to actually called customer checkout form. And let's also copy this and make sure we have a new one called address checkout form. And let's make sure we are importing the correct form and using the correct name. So let's make sure we use customer checkout form here. And also we want to change the class name to customer checkout form. And let's now just do the same thing for the address checkout form. Duplicate this down and just call this address checkout form. Import the class as well. I'm going to call this customer form, and I'm going to call the other one address form. So before we finish this video off, let's just make sure we have the correct attributes inside the address form. So I'm going to call this address, and I'm going to call the other one address too. And we also just want to make sure we validate the city and the postcode. And that's all for this video. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Please hit the like and the subscribe button as well if you would like to see more videos